Hello everyone, it's Simon from Higher Plane Games. Hope you're well and having a great day. It is 20 past 3 in the morning. I've got my chocobo of a penis. It's not a penis, but it looks like one to me. I have done about 3/4 of a bottle of fake Malibu, and we're still recording this video. It's going to happen. I had several attempts of this, but as someone that pops out content onto the internet and people hear my voice quite often, or read my reviews on different websites and so on that I run, I feel really privileged and honoured that people feel that they can come to me and ask me for help and advice with some of the problems that they're having in life in general. And I'm always happy to oblige. In my circle of friends, I'm known as Uncle Smithy, because it just seems to be the place that I hold in groups, which is great, along with the idiot who's like last in everything and generally a clumsy twit. So there's several lines of questions that normally get batted my way, but the main one is always around my experiences of coming out, advice and tips and help and support for what's out there and about, and what's it like being a raving gay? So, excuse me, with alcohol in hand and with it pissing down with rain outside and it being now 20 past 3 in the morning, let's begin. So, I have quite a few different opinions on things. They're always only my opinions. I don't expect them to be taken for gospel or anything like that. But I'm quite passionate about some of the things that I have to say. And this is going to be a long ramble. I apologise. Half drunk. I've got no script. Oh. But the first thing that I want to say essentially is, if you are coming out as gay, bi, trans, asexual, whatever orientation that you are, is don't let your sexual orientation define exactly who you are, and singularly define you as it being the most important feature about you as a person or a human being or as an individual. I think that is a very closed way to deal with life in general, and actually quite limiting in what you think that you are as a person and as a human being. If you want to be defined by different things, and that's fine, I think you should let your sexual orientation or your sexuality be part of who you are, but not necessarily the whole deal. So when I don't go and talk to someone, I'm like, oh, so what are you all about then? And I'm like, I'm a gay man. And I get this quite often. I don't go out onto the gay scene particularly very often. When I do, people are like, I'm a gay man, and I do gay things with gay people. I'm like, great, but what about you? What are you like? What do you like to do? And I'm like, oh, I like being gay. Well, it's not like that badly, but you know when people, they put up that persona is like, I'm gay, and there's nothing behind it. I think that must be a really empty way to live, in my opinion. And I think if you frame your sexuality as being part of who you are, but not all of who you are, that it makes everything else that follows in terms of coming out to yourself and coming out to others and coming out to loved ones and dealing with being gay, bi, straight, trans. I feel like you have to come out as straight these days. It's that dramatic that everyone has a coming out video on the internet. So yeah, I think if you frame it like that, it makes everything else that little bit more easier, because you know it's not the beginning, middle and end of every single part of your life, of every decision that you make, and for everything you do for the rest of your life going forward. So with that spouted out, cheers everyone. Fake Malibu from Asda. I know how to live. Upgrade from Lidl. Whoop. So yeah, I think once you've got that in your head and dealt with and done, and I'm saying that really blasé, that takes a long time. It took a long time for me to get going, and at least anyway. Then you'll feel comfortable with yourself going forward in the future, and comfortable with the decisions that you make going forward, in my personal opinion. Some people have asked me defining moments for coming out, so I'm going to talk about my story and what it was like for me coming out in a pre-internet era. This is aging me badly already. Or internet was kind of there. It was on dial-up, for goodness sake. You people today will not know, you don't understand what it is to spend an hour to download a 4 megabyte song. Feel my pain. Especially with these uploads onto YouTube, so like gigabytes now. And so I'll kind of intersperse through my story tips and tricks of what went well for me, what I could have done better, what I would have done differently if I have my time again, in a very Zen Buddhist-like fashion, and get proceedingly more and more drunk. Sorry, work, you're not going to get much out of me today. So, my first inklings, I guess, is that I think you come out to yourself several times, or I certainly did, at least anyway, and you have different stages of coming out to yourself. And my first kind of tip of advice after, well, I suppose tip number 2, because the first one I've already said, is, Chocobos will agree on this, you need to be comfortable with being who you are yourself, I think, before you start telling everyone else along the way. And for me, there was like certain steps of that process that I went through, some kind of subconsciously and some were more like conscious decisions of, so that's what you like. And again, this will be different for everyone. For me, drink. Yes. I suppose when I'm thinking of like infant and junior school would be my first inkling of stuff, maybe. And as children, I think we're less imprinted on by what society deems as normal, whatever the fuck that is these days. And I had almost all of my friends were initially girls. Don't know why. Well, I think I may know why, like subconsciously, but at that time I had no idea. I was just friending whoever would friend me, to be fair, because I was the not very outgoing fat one. And apparently very, very camp, according to my teachers. Don't know. So all of my friends were girls, and I'd strategically, in my head, set me up, then going through infant school and secondary school as the guy that the guys had to go to understand which girl fancied them and vice versa, because the two wouldn't necessarily talk to each other, and I was like the gateway in the middle because most of my friends were the girls. I had a few mates that were boys, and that was great, but most of them were like, oh, Simon, do you want to I want to hold her hand this lunchtime, do you think she'll be up for it? Oh, the innocence back then. So I used to kind of get like who I think was the skanky ones, and who was like the more upstanding citizen, aged 7 or 8 at the time. Who knows? In my head, I'm sure there was a motive behind it. But what that meant was I got a girlfriend at that age. I'm sorry for the quotes. I feel awful. I feel so wanky for doing that now. And I would basically be like today you're my girlfriend and tomorrow you're my girlfriend. And that for me at that age meant we'd hold hands at lunch and we'd share lunch boxes, and not that lunchbox, and go around holding hands and maybe like a kiss at the end of the day. And then tomorrow I'd be like, today you're my girlfriend. I was such a little slut. Lunchtime slut. In infant school and secondary school, but I didn't think anything of it. And it wasn't until like in secondary school, and I just instantly would want to go up to my best mate at the time, and I'd be like going to hold his hand, and then kind of getting this like social of, oh, why are you doing that? And it hadn't twigged in my mind that this was a thing that I shouldn't be doing. Oh, I nearly done a quote again. Stop it. Drink more. There we go. And yeah, so it just didn't. It hadn't triggered in my head that this was a thing. I was just like, I'm holding hands with the people I like. I'm gonna kiss them. And after having had a like lunchtime girlfriend for a year and a half, and then she moved away. Killed a parrot. That was a bit awkward. That wasn't why she moved away, but it all kind of happened on. It was a going away, a going away / birthday party, and her parrot died when I touched it. In my head, it was already dead. It's all coming out now. Literally coming out. And so, having had that with like girls, it just so happened that they were my friends, and then getting that first kind of ping of social norm that I shouldn't be doing that with a guy. I was like, okay. But didn't really think anything of it until that friendship basically blew out of scope for me anymore, because I pushed it too far, and clearly he wasn't gay, or if he is, he wasn't at that time, and people change throughout their life. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that either. You are who you are when you are, so long as you're true to yourself and truthful as an individual and a person, then that is fine, in my opinion. Yeah. It's what was I going to say? Yeah, so he that friendship had come to an end, and so that was like strike one, issues. And then when I hit into secondary school, it became even more apparent that this was like not the done thing to be doing. And I was obviously a bit more savvy now. The internet had started to come around, so I was like, hello internet. What's the sexual shenanigans that you can get on there called pornographics? So I was busy looking around online for things like that, as any horny teenager would be doing. And again, not necessarily twigging, because I was just like, let's go find straight porn. But I just found myself looking at the guy more than the girl. But I hadn't, again, the penny wasn't dropping stupidly. And it took until, in my circle of friends, apparently a girl had fancied me for about a year and a half, and I'd had no fucking idea. Just merrily going along, stuffing my gob with cake and curry, enjoying life, playing games on my PS1, and living life. And yeah, my friend kind of went, she really, really fancies you. She has done for ages. How have you not known? I was like, meh. And I felt the social pressure at that time, because I was already being bullied about being fat, being a geek, being everything else that everyone hates at school. I needed some brownie points, but I also felt like the pressure, I guess, of being in school to try and not try out having a girlfriend. That's like the wrong way of putting it, but it kept me under radar and undercover, I guess, because I wasn't good at sports, and then so instantly everyone just hurls like gay abuse at you anyway, because it's just the thing that happens at school, and kids are fucking cruel. There's like this switch over between everyone being relatively friendly but maybe a bit spoilt in infant and junior school to just being utter wankers in senior school. Why do people do that? Why are people so horrible? It's like it's built into our DNA to just be arseholes as soon as we turn 13. And then regret it all when we turn 17 or 18 and realise actually how much of an arsehole we were. And so your life's made horrible. And it doesn't matter if you're gay. You know, I didn't get glasses until my mid-20s, but if I'd have had glasses, I'd have been 4 eyes. If I'd have had, I don't know, 2 ears, eerie, I don't know. They will find something and they'll pick at you because it's a horrible, horrible world. So for me, having a girlfriend was one less thing that they could pick on me on. Yes! And so for all the wrong reasons, I was like, yeah, I'll go out with you. And then spent the next 4 weeks of my life avoiding this poor female girl. And we was in the same class together, so we'd go round and be like, hey, morning. I'd be like, backing away. Don't come near me. And just the sheer awkwardness, the hairs on the back of my neck would go up. I'd feel sick to my stomach. I'd be, I think, probably visually uncomfortable at being anywhere in the vicinity of her, just because our best friendship had now become a relationship. Oh no, 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 no. And it all culminated in this awkward bear hug incident where everyone else had started to notice that I'd managed to avoid her for a month. Not least her, probably. And so they went, "Oh, you don't even kiss her, you don't hug her, you don't go anywhere near her." And I was like, "Oh, hug's the lowest bar I can get away with." So I went, "Look, I'll give her a hug now," and done like this awkward bear hug moment. And at that very point, I was like, I need to stop this now because it's getting out of hand. I feel uncomfortable. She's being made a laughing stock because of how uncomfortable I am. So yeah, sort that shit out. So we went back to very quickly being friends again. Although it kind of damaged that friendship. I think it never did recover from the bear hug. Fucking hell. Oh, Smithy hugs. So yeah, that's not great. Annoying, but never mind. And that was kind of like strike two. And from that moment, I think that was when the penny dropped, where I was like, might be gay. So I took to the internet, and I suppose this will be next step, and kind of like a dual step. Don't feel pressured to being something that you're not, even when it's quite advantageous for you to be below the radar. Sometimes it can be like the easier path initially, but what I didn't realise was how much it didn't fuck me up in the head, but it made me kind of go, oh, and have my own demons of, I felt like I'd already given into social pressure once of, oh, don't feel like you must be with a woman, you must be with a girl, you must have a girlfriend, you need to be manly, all of this kind of stuff. It's all bollocks, absolute bollocks. You need to be yourself, but you need to have the confidence to do that, and sometimes you need to work at other parts of your life so that you can be confident in being who you are when it comes down to like your sexuality. And so for the next 2 years essentially were like the best 2 years of my life socially and stuff like that, because I pulled away from the whole discovering who you are and all this stuff, and the internet had come out, so I'd kind of I was looking vaguely at that path, but I spent a lot of time basically getting a support network of friends around me and being proud in other areas of my life. So suddenly it was cool to be like a gamer. I was like, yes, I'm in. I've got something over the competition. All the friends that I had that were girls were now like attractive, and so in the dating scene I was like hot property, because not for like dates but for knowing who had kissed who. So I then had like social acceptance, so that was quite handy. And it just meant the pressure was off on so many other areas of my life that I could focus on who I was as an individual. And then eventually it kind of got round to the, so I guess you're gay then. And it was like a really, really slow realisation. I feel like I was the last person to know. And then for the last person for the penny to drop almost. Apart from that poor girl. Sorry. She's married now. It's okay. It's a shame, she's really sweet as well. And that's what I mean when I can't remember if I've said it before, but I think you come out to yourself and then you come out to yourself again, like with a realisation or of a specific event where you go, I think I might be, I know I am. And then you have to come to terms with that afterwards and be comfortable with it. Because if you're not comfortable with it, that becomes an issue. And then from there I went to having like a support network of really, really close friends, and like I don't know if it was something around like the end of the 2000s, but there was a bit of a social revolution that went on, and it seemed to be at that point where it was quite acceptable for long-term married couples to split up and have divorces. And I suppose what I consider like the decommissioning of happy ever after. it sounds really, really depressing, but um, like loads of couples were getting married couples were getting big divorces, and not staying together for the sake of the children, and things like that. And so there was a lot of shit going on in like the group of friends that we had, and that really, really bound us all together. And so, for my next tip, I guess, is get a support network of friends who you want to tell first before you go to family, because you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. And with some people where you worry for your safety, or you worry where you're going to sleep at night when you tell someone or someone finds out, your friends are your allies. And if you've chose those friends for a reason, they must reciprocate you on some kind of level, be that in beliefs or openness and accessibility and honesty, and all of these things and all of these attributes that you should have. And remember, we're talking about all of these things being attributes to do with you, and not necessarily about you being a gay person. So back to the very first point where I said that it shouldn't be like everything about you. When you do say, I'm a bit of a gay, then, yeah, obviously don't say it like that. Don't say, oh, drink, Simon. Mm. It should be for most people, I'd imagine it's probably going to be of little surprise. Don't know. But they're going to love you anyway. You're their friend anyway. This is just another facet of the kaleidoscope that is you. And all of those attributes that make you as a person is why you're their friend. And yes, some of those attributes might be because you're gay. So you might be extra honest or open because you're gay. Great. I have said this before. So they'll stick by you if you've got the right friends and you've reciprocated on their level. I was really telling my friends was like a massive anticlimax, because most of them went, "Oh, well, we know this," or "Yeah, and." It's like it stole my thunder a little bit, because I got a bit nervous. I was telling people all at college. It was really, really interesting. And it was all leading up to essentially me having my first boyfriend. And that came at first year of college. I only done a year and a half anyway. But it was... I'd gone to a party... and typical straight teens, I guess, of that time, not so much now, but it was, you two are the two gays, you should go out. So we did, kind of. It was really funny, and it lasted for 3 years. I think that's quite good going for someone that was age 16. When you're still forming as an individual, I think it's really difficult to hold a relationship for that time, for any length of time, I guess. But 3 years I thought wasn't bad going. For a first go at things, it was a very lax relationship, I'll say that, but it was it served its purpose. And I guess for my next bit of advice is that when you are going to go and tell family or close loved ones, or people who you're a bit more skeptical of how they're going to react, for me, I always decided, once I was happy and comfortable with myself, which had taken a long time to kind of get there, and kind of like in a holistic approach where I had to be happy with the friends around me, comfortable with my personality, comfortable with the things that I liked to do, music, games, that kind of stuff, and defined who I was as a person. I wasn't going to tell people in my family that I was gay until I had a reason to tell them. And for me, that reason was that I'd found someone who I felt quite strongly for, and was willing to not sacrifice, because I was in a lucky situation where I didn't ever think that I'd have to like have a "you choose them and us" dramatic moment. I assumed it was going to be mega uncomfortable for a while, but there had to be like a tipping point of it's okay to be uncomfortable for a while, or maybe forever, because I have the potential to have someone who I could fall in love with or love, settle down, be with, and that would make it worth it for me in the end. So yeah, I think a lot of people need to find the what does it take for you to tell, because I think sometimes if you tell people a bit like emptily, without not without like proof to back it up, but sometimes people are like, is it just a phase, are you doing this, and then you like have to repeat the process again when you then get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or you make a life-changing decision around your sexuality or something like that, and it's like, oh, I've got to do it all again now. So that was for me my tipping point, and I'd been seeing this boy for several months, and I suppose my next piece of advice is that there is no perfect time to tell anyone. You can try and set it up as best as possible, but it never fucking happens. It really doesn't happen. And prepare. So if you're really, really worried about people's reactions, make sure that you've got backup plan. Make sure that you've got somewhere to stay for the night. Make sure that you've got an escape route if you think that something is going to be that dangerous. Although I would argue if you think something's going to be that dangerous, I wouldn't go ahead and tell it anyway. I suppose if I was in that kind of position, I would choose to live my life elsewhere if I had the option to. I know that may not be always there for everyone, but I'd make active decisions to make sure that I could start to separate my life and go somewhere else. And choose to do it in like a safe location in public, so that you are as safe as you can be, I guess, and surrounded by people that you love, and that love you for you. I would also say that there's many more resources out there now that you can go to that weren't around when I was about. So information online, and this is more about forming like who you are and the coming out and coming out for you. There's support networks online. It didn't exist when I was around. Support networks in person, so that you can maybe have someone to talk to who is outside of your circle of friends and family, who can prepare you for telling people if you've got yourself worked into a frenzy about it, which is very easy to do, especially when you start to stake everything on it. And I wished I'd known about some of that when I was younger, because I felt quite isolated and alone. And you never have to be alone, because there's so many resources out there that can help. And yeah, some of them are poncy, and yeah, some of them look really, really cringe, but they all have, at the heart of it, they have the intent there to help you, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you'll find like what gels with you best. Some people really want like the I'm a political person, or some people want the heart to heart stuff. Just wander around, see what works and fits for you. Yeah, I'd do that. And then just going back to there's no perfect time. For me and my parents, I love my parents dearly. We have a really, really great relationship, always have done, and I'm assuming that we always will do, because we're on a stupid wavelength essentially, where me and my mum make stupid jokes and my dad doesn't understand them, which makes it more funny because he comes from Scotland, land of the confused humour, that normally ends with a punch somewhere. Whereas me and my mum are more like observational Victoria Wood style comedy. So we have a great relationship, and clearly when I was seeing this guy, I felt like I was hiding who I really was, and it was starting to like burst out a little bit. And it culminated basically. After college, he'd come round mine, and my mum had come home from work slightly early and caught us a bit off guard. So I chucked him in the toilet. And waited for my mum to go into the kitchen, and I pretended, I think it was like Avon or like a Jehovah's Witness had come to the door, and I chucked him out. And I was so annoyed that I felt that I had to hide this blossoming relationship that when my mum then in the evening was like having this argument with us, and she's like, I know you better than you know yourself. And I went, well, if you knew me so well, you'd know that I'd been seeing I'd had a boyfriend for the last 4 months or whatever it was. And I was like, yes, won the argument. Fuck you. Woo, woo, woo. Not realising like the gravity of it all. And I was so disappointed now looking back that that's how I chose to do it, because it's one of the rare negative, argumentative. It's like a bickery spat, but me and my parents, we don't even have that very rarely. So I was very slightly disappointed that that's how it came out, but it's how it came out, and I'm glad that it did come out. And I think if I'd have waited for the perfect time, I'd still be looking at my watch, going, "What the fuck?" Because there is no perfect time. You just have to bite the bullet and go for it sometimes. And an off-the-cuff comment like that, as fucking annoying as it is to me now, at least it done the job. It done the job. So yeah, there was that drink. From there, I guess everyone's journey is different, and my next piece of advice is that everyone that you tel's journey is different as well, and people will accept you or accept the news or come to terms with the news, and that sounds like someone's died or something like that, but different people react in different ways, and don't expect people to go at the same speed, essentially, is what I'm going to say, because my parents have had a really long journey to get to a place where they're vaguely comfortable, I think, about it now. And that has been interesting because I don't push them, and I don't go out of my way to flaunt it in their face by like waving around penises, and like shouting at people going, "Oh no, it's off!" and all that stuff. I think actually that just provokes argument, to be fair. But again, down to the individual. My mum, I think, was very uneducated when it comes to what being gay was, because especially at that time as well, so we're talking the year 2001, because 2000 was when I left school. God. So you only had like the gays on the telly and the flamboyant ones, or your Julian Clarys, your Graham Norton, if he was about at that time. It's that kind of gay where you don't get to see a gay man in a public eye. It's like George Michael, I suppose, would be another example, where you see them in a normal everyday situation. At that point, gays were always, I mean, you'd have them in the public eye, but they would be extreme versions of themselves and being known as the "I'm the gay blah." And so my mum instantly was very disappointed. And her first two questions to me afterwards I thought were quite telling. So the first one was, "You're going to die of AIDS." To which I replied, probably not very endearingly, "So would you if you slept with the wrong person." Which was me being a cheeky little bastard. I felt warranted that at the time. I was still winning that argument. I wanted to win it. It not quite sunk in. And then the next question was, "So your boyfriend, is he bald?" Which I've since then asked. It's as if like my mum thought that gays were only like the village people, and so it had to be bald with a tash. I was thinking, my God, I'm only 16 years old. Do you think I'm going around with like some like 45-year-old? Hilarious. Then she talked about, "I'm not going to have any grandkids." I was like, "I'm not going to have any children, probably, but who knows? We could adopt a fetus in the future." So there was a lot to do with that, and actually Mum's journey has been very much around seeing a gay person more and more normal and everyday, because she's quite, especially now that she's older and less adventurous, I think, in life sometimes. Sorry, Mum, if you watch this, but I do worry. Where she's quite media driven, so she'll like watch on the news, and then whatever's on the news is like the conversation of topic, because she's now worried about that thing. And so being able to educate her that actually gay people have relationships on the same level as straight people. We can be in love. We can settle down. We can go and choose a puppy or a dog. Yes, I might want a white picket fence outside my little village hut. Actually, to be fair, I don't know if I could live in a village, because if the internet connection is not good enough, then I can't play online multiplayer. So like all of these kind of things, and actually me coming out then doesn't like wave a wand and I'm transformed into the gay. I think was a big long learning curve for her, and it wasn't helped by the fact that my first boyfriend didn't ever come out of the closet during the time that we were together. So he would hide from his family and therefore didn't want to acknowledge mine. And it took for a future relationship for that to kind of really move on for my mum. And that's what I mean by like people taking their own journey, because she became quite defensive of anyone that I would show an interest to, because she was worried that me being in a relationship and that being like quite a public thing would lead to me being excluded, I think, from society, and showing actually that we're just the same as everyone else. We have our ups and downs in relationships. Really helped her kind of acknowledge that we are all one and the same, to be fair. And that might sound a little bit weird and archaic now, and this is only like 10 years ago, but I still think that actually this is an ongoing problem for a lot of people in the future. My dad, on the other hand, had a very different experience of stuff. And I had to, whereas my mum, I've had more conversations with being gay, homosexualness in general, and the way of life, and my general poor dating history. My dad has been, I've had to deal with my dad slightly differently, because he's quite an introspective person, and he's a worrywart, more emotional. Yeah, he is more emotional than my mum. But he was also the first person to come to me of the two, which I found really interesting. So he was silent to me for a week, and then after a week he came up to me and just said, I just want you to know that I love you, son, and gave me a big hug. And that was amazing, so amazing, because I was worried because he'd been completely silent, and it was just him processing stuff in his head. And what I hadn't realised that he'd done, and my family had kind of said this to me afterwards, was that he thought that it was a slight on his masculinity, that me is his only son, and my brother and sister from my mum's first marriage. So I'm my dad's only child, even though we're all, you know what I mean. He thought it was a slight on his masculinity, and that he couldn't produce a straight son. And he'd come from a background that was incredibly rough, and like battling for food on the table and heat and electricity and things like that. And so coming from like the slums of Scotland, that sounds really dramatic, but from not a great area, and having to make do and having to take those horrible grafting jobs, to then have a puffy son come along and be all like, I'm going to work in computers, just makes him just go, oh, what did I do with life? But in the same way that I think my relationships, and leading by example, have shown my mum that gay relationships can be considered just as normal and just as fucked up as straight ones. I think the idea of being a man, and what being a man really is, and actually that again boils down to who you are as a human being and what the essence of being human is, and that's a bit deep for, what is it, coming up to 4 a.m. 4:01. Fucking hell. Wrap this one up. But it's I think you do need to lead by example, because if you come out and say, oh yeah, I'm a raving gay, let's all go clubbing, and then come home having made bad choices, I don't know, off your head on cocaine, covered in glitter, with someone's spunk on your face. I know it might be a Saturday night for someone, but it's just, if you make poor decision choices, then people are only going to, it's you that's making those poor decisions. I feel like you need to lead by example, almost, in a way, for people that are ignorant, and you need to carry along the journey with you. And so be prepared for that, I think, in different ways. So my dad over time has come to learn that actually being a man is about being true to yourself, being an upstanding citizen with morals and understanding, and that's not about being, ugh, me man, me bash rock, that kind of stuff, which is what he was grown up to be told to do. So he's gone along like this really interesting transformation, I think, in that point of view, and kind of mirrors, I think, what society is going through. There's probably it's a topic for another discussion entirely, where like people are like, oh, social justice warriors, and I'm permanently offended, and all this bollocks, a lot of which I actually have to say I agree with, and as a society I think sometimes we all need to grow a pair, and man up and deal with it, but man up in a slightly different way around morals, beliefs, and open conversation and dialogue, as opposed to man up, I'm going to beat the 10 barrels of shit out of you, that kind of thing, which is what my dad grew up with. So he's like become this like allegory for society in my head. My sister wasn't a problem. I always regretted that I assumed that my brother, because he's a hard nut, he's a bit of a nutter, I thought we couldn't be more opposite if we tried, and I thought that he'd be a real issue, and he really wasn't, and I always felt slightly disappointed that I didn't think better of him for that. So be prepared for people to surprise you on both sides of the spectrum. And then the last thing I would say, well, it's not going to be last, I've already thought of something else already, is it does get easier and it does get better. I hate the cliche, but it's true, it does. But it doesn't stop either. So when you get into a new situation, you're going to have to come out all over again. And yeah, it will become easier over time because you're more used to it, and you'll be more comfortable in your own skin, and you develop and grow as a human being over time. And like the old owl, wisdom is key. And wisdom comes through experience, or being able to take situations open-mindedly, I think. Most of my main troubles, I have to say, have actually been professional, and I've not had many jobs in my time, because I normally, when I find a job that I like, I've never really known what I wanted to do, but whenever I found a job and I've enjoyed it, I've stuck at it for a good few years before I then try something new, or I feel like I've exhausted what I can do there. And most of the homophobia that I've come across, or difficult situations, have always been in a professional capacity, and that's been where managers have been actually quite out of order in showing disdain and dislike for people that are gay or bi or whatever, and find it weird. And I had one manager who was quite blatant and made my life quite sneakily miserable, and I thought that it was me just being really crap at my job, until someone played a tape recording message of exactly what they thought of me and exactly what they thought of gays, and I thought, now it all makes a little bit of sense. Now back then I was naive, because it was my first full-time, it was my second full-time job. And I didn't want to lose it. and I felt like I was in a situation where I just had to shovel the shit and keep going. But, excuse me, I thought it was really, really interesting that on my exit interview from that job, because I had to get out of there, it was a poisonous environment, it was getting me down. And my next piece of advice is that if you find yourself in a poisonous atmosphere, do something about it. Don't carry the burden, and speak up. I didn't. And although in a backwards way, it's now made me a better person for who I am today, because I take less shit. I should have taken less shit a lot earlier in that specific job. And on my exit interview, the manager of the store that I worked in said, "I'm not surprised you're leaving, because your line manager absolutely hates you because you're gay." And I thought, how is that like acceptable? And so my exit interview kind of turned into this weird backward argument of why do you think that's acceptable? Why is this something? Why do I always have to be going one better, to be brought back down a peg, to then be on par with everyone else? I suppose it goes back to that whole lead by example type of thing. I went into that job and felt like I had to always do one better than everyone else, and that being equal wasn't enough, because I was always going to be taken down a peg by that specific manager. My main advice to that is get out of that situation as best as possible. And if you can't get out of that situation, the world, at least in the Western world anyway, has moved on a lot since that time. And there is equal opportunities, there's human resources, and there's grievance procedures that you can go through if you work in a big company. If you're in a small company, I recommend making your exit, but obviously you need to do it in a controlled and professional way, so that you're not in an awkward situation, so that something can be twisted around back onto you, because that's the last thing you want. But also, like, if you're in a really, really close environment, the first thing I'd do is like talk to someone directly and just say, do you know what, when you do X, it makes me feel Y, which is not constructive for us to be doing Z. I think if you can frame things in that kind of manner, so that it's quite clinical, but you're making it clear that something isn't acceptable. Sometimes people think that they're being funny, and they're not, and actually they're being like really, really distasteful. And I'm not someone that offends easily. Some people are just purely full of hatred. But I still think that you should try that tact first on a personal level, because I think people need to be given the chance to learn and appreciate the shit that people have to go through, and that behaviour needs to be learned over time. Then you can go the corporate route, in my opinion, because you've given them the chance. And a lot of people will be fine after that, and they'll know their limit where they are with you. I don't think you can tackle the world of abuse, violence, and all of that kind of stuff with just one person and one action. But that certainly means that you can stand on equal ground, I think, in my opinion. And the world has definitely moved forward in the last 10, 12 years on that front, not just for sexuality, but for race, religion, that kind of stuff. So we're going in the right direction as a species, I think, in my opinion. So, I feel like I've gone on forever. I'm so sorry that this has been a massive ramble, and I hope it's been of some vague interest to people. If not, I hope you've fallen asleep to my droniest voice. So I hope there was some kind of useful information or tips there, or at least something that's maybe relatable to people. Everyone's experience is different. Everyone has their own story to tell. I don't think you can have too many coming out videos, but what I do think... let me phrase that again. I think you can have too many coming out videos if there's no substance in actually making something actionable. Make an action plan for yourself of who you're going to tell, what you're going to tell. Plan it if you can. Know that that plan probably won't be stuck to in any way, shape or form. But it starts to make the idea of the impossible possible. And it makes something that can be kind of abstract and ephemeral for people a reality. And yeah, you'll get there. You'll get there. It does get better. Oh, I hate that so much. It does get better though. But it doesn't stop. Never stops. So, good luck. It's 4:10. And I've finished my drink. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.